NFL tends to be a tad more conservative, moderate to conservative, the way they run business. The NBA tends to be a little more progressive, left-leaning. They just, they fall in love with different stuff and different players and give players power. And the NFL sort of, here, we've got this mantra, don't talk about it, we're doing the draft. So this is very interesting. So now you've got executives and owners leaking stuff to CNBC, a business channel. Remember when Roger Goodell came out and said, we're having a draft, talk about it and get fined. And the media is like, whoa, that's authoritarian. He was right. It worked. If your boss tells you, be quiet or you get suspended, you going to talk? Some employees, you have to do that too. Look at this. So yesterday, CNBC's Jabari Young, a reporter, came out. NBA owners are weighing the cost benefit of even returning. There's going to be no fans. The players have already signed up for a 25% discount. Non-playoff teams are already resigned to have lost local revenue. They're not going to get any games. And there's the liability of health issues. Essential workers getting sick. So Adam Silver wants it. We know that, right? But Adam Silver, the owners are his boss. Now, LeBron James came out yesterday and said, saw some reports and execs and agents wanting to cancel the season. That's absolutely not true, said LeBron. Nobody I know is saying anything like that. As soon as it's safe, we'd like to finish our season. I'm ready. Our team is ready. Nobody would want to cancel anything. But Adam Silver works for the owners. And somebody, an owner, remember the Atlanta Hawks GM broke ranks last week and took a shot at Adam Silver. And now the players saying, we want it. Well, the NFL owners, they get behind Roger Goodell. Now you've got people leaking stuff that, well, what's the point? Again, they're breaking ranks. They're breaking ranks. Remember, Disney owns ESPN. Disney, and I feel bad for him because I got friends there. I'm not sure there's an American company other than maybe airlines that's been in the crosshairs of this virus. They have theme parks. It's the biggest driver of revenue. They're shut down. Cruise lines, shut down. Theaters, movies, shut down. NBA season, shut down. Disney's losing $30 million a day. A day. Goldman Sachs just downgraded the stock. That doesn't happen. Not in Bob Iger's run. So they want a season. They need games. They have the NBA final. Bob Iger even presented an idea to hold the rest of the season in Disney World. Okay. He's not doing that if we have the NBA rights. Okay. They are in a uniquely bad spot, Disney, for this virus. They've been hammered. Not to get into our business, but we're kind of an NFL, college football, World Cup, and baseball playoff business. We got some NASCAR now. That's going to start in a week. So we've been spared a little bit. Very, very fortunate. So the TV partners want an NBA season. LeBron's saying the players want it. But you had an Atlanta Hawks GM break rank a few days ago, and now you got CNBC. I mean, somebody told him this. They didn't go on the air and make it up. Somebody, executives or owners, said the owners are just weighing the cost benefits. What's the point? Players have taken a pay cut. Liability physically could be bad PR. It's bad anyway. So, nobody likes a harsh boss. Everybody likes the boss who listens to every employee. That's Adam Silver. Breaking ranks. People just doing their own thing, saying their own thing, leaking stories to CNBC. Not good. Not good at all. Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want to hear your music, not your roommates. Raycon's wireless earbuds are the way to go. Get a 15% off Raycon order if you go to buyraycon.com/HERD. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
In 2002, David Carr was the first overall pick in the draft, so he knows what kind of pressure is on Joe Burrow. But David Carr was also sacked an NFL record 76 times in his rookie season.
Wow.
With the Texans. That is remarkable. And he hopes the Bengals can do a better job of protecting Joe Burrow this year. He told the Cincinnati Enquirer the offensive line needs to improve. It's only going to be about what they put around him. It's all it's going to be. Tend to agree with him. I think Joe Burrow went number one overall for a reason. He had an incredible season, an all-time statistical season at LSU, and now he's going to the Cincinnati Bengals, who haven't been completely dysfunctional over the last 10 to 15 years. They have made the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff game, but when you're the number one overall pick, you don't have other picks in that round, as we know. Like, they could have traded back and probably got a king's ransom for Joe Burrow in that spot, but their offensive line was tied for 9th in sacks allowed last season at 48. So think about how bad it was for David Carr. 76 times. The Bengals were 9th in sacks last year with 48.
Well,
I might as well have been out there blocking for him.
And Fox Bet has their over-under for Cincinnati at 5.5, and they've got Baltimore at 11.5. And, Cleveland's up at like 9.5, or 8.5, and Pittsburgh's at 9 and 9.5. And what does that tell you? Cincinnati's at 5.5. It tells you they have half the talent. They're overwhelmed. So, listen, we're all rooting for Joe Burrow. Nobody wants Joe Burrow to get hurt. Joey, you and I talk about this all the time. NFL football is better when quarterback play is good.
Of course. Joe
Flacco's boring. Lamar Jackson's not. Baltimore's now suddenly a blast to watch. With Flacco, they were boring. So it's going to be rough for Joe, and I hope their offensive line can give him some help, because they don't have but they're also a really bad defensive teams, meaning they're going to play from behind a lot, and Joe Burrow's going to have to throw the ball to catch up because they can't stop anybody. Trouble.
Well, they didn't use a draft pick on an offensive lineman until the 6th round this year. They only drafted 5 offensive linemen in the past 4 years, 2 of which are out of the league. They did sign Xavier Su'a-Filo in free agency. He was with the Texans and the Titans briefly and with Dallas. But, yeah, they didn't do a lot of investing in their offensive line over the past couple years either. So Tua dealt with plenty of injuries during his time at Alabama, and Nick Saban hopes that Tua can learn to protect himself better in the NFL. He said, number one thing we've tried to convince him of here is he's got to learn self-preservation is part of the job. Tua is a great competitor. You don't want to take his competitive spirit away. He's always trying to make a play even when the play breaks down, and that's good. But I still think there are times when there's just nothing there. Several times when he got hurt here, I felt there's no reason for him to even get hit. Sometimes the other guys win, but I think that's probably number one.
Yeah.
He had 5 notable injuries in his time at Alabama: broken left index finger, sprained right knee, left high ankle sprain, right high ankle sprain, and of course the dislocated right hip. This is my concern with Tua as well. It's not there's certain players that you feel are just kind of fragile. They just seem to always be injured, and sometimes it just happens. It's not even a hit that gets them injured. They're just injury prone. I don't necessarily feel that way about Tua. I agree with Nick Saban. I think that he needs to learn this skill. Self-preservation is a skill. Availability is a skill. And the guys at the NFL level are faster and smarter and more experienced. They're going to study film. They're going to know what your tendencies are when a play breaks down. We talk about it all the time with Baker last year. It felt like Baker was in the same spot every time a play broke down. Right over there. You could just run over there and be ready for him. You just knew where he was rolling to once the play broke down. So obviously, he's not able to get into work with the Dolphins as of yet, but I'm sure that's something the Dolphins are going to focus on with him. Finally, Ron Rivera coached Cam Newton for his entire career in Carolina. Cam is still on the market, and during an interview on NFL Network yesterday, Rivera discussed the possibility of bringing him to Washington.
The thing about Cam really is the situation. We're in a situation where we've got 2 really young quarterbacks. One that's been with us, been in the system, understands how we want things done. And the other one's a guy that was taken last year in the first round that shows some promise. If you go back and break Dwayne down, you see a lot of positive things. I think with Cam, and I have thought about it. I mean, it's something that has run through my mind. And it's about the situation and circumstances. I'm not sure if I would do it. I'm not sure if I wouldn't do it. It's just, again, depends on circumstances.
I don't see this happening. I do think that Cam will end up on a roster before the season starts this year, but I don't think that it's going to be with Washington.
No.
Washington's in a perfect position. They can see what they have with Haskins. If they don't have anything, they build up their defense. They just took Chase Young, so they can continue to develop their defense and figure that out. And if Haskins is a disaster or is not what they need him to be, they can draft a quarterback in next year's draft. But for them to so they're not tanking. They are rebuilding. And Ron Rivera's first year, he has no pressure whatsoever to make things happen this year. Bringing in Cam Newton when you just left Carolina and you have a new start and an opportunity to build from the ground up, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think Cam will end up somewhere, and I think he has a lot of good football left. I just don't think Washington is the fit for him.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Chris Broussard, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, The Best or Nothing, is joining us. He recently had a conversation with Isaiah Thomas. I'll get to that in a second. But yesterday, a story comes out, CNBC. Somebody leaked this to CNBC. It had to be owners or execs. That owners are, they're 50-50.